Hi, in this video I'm going to do a quick example where we'll look at an outcome space, define a couple of events, and work a little bit with set notation. Now suppose that you flip a coin, roll a six-sided die, and then record which side of each lands facing up. The outcome space is the set of all the possible outcomes in this random experiment. We use the capital letter S to denote the sample space. And we use brackets to indicate that we're working with a set. And inside we list all of the possible outcomes. Now I'm going to use H to denote heads and T to denote tails. So I could have a heads on the coin and a 1 on the die. A heads on the coin, a 2 on the die, and so on. Or I could have a tails on the coin and a 1 on the die, a tails and a 2 on the die, and so on. And then I just indicate that I'm finished with my set by closing that bracket. Now that I have my sample space S, let's look at some events. Let A be the event that the coin lands with heads facing up. In set notation, I can write this as event A equals the set that contains these outcomes. Heads in 1, heads in 2, and I close my set. There's event A. Now, the complement of A is the set of outcomes not contained in A. So not A means we're not landing heads up. That means that we have tails landing up. So these outcomes here are going to be contained in the complement of A, which I write. A complement is the set with T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, and T6. There's our complement. Okay, let's define another event. Let B be the event that the die lands with an even number facing up. So a 2, 4, or 6 is going to land facing up. Now stop the video for a moment to write event B and the complement of B in set notation. And when you're finished, start the recording back up, so check your work. Okay, so check these over for a minute. Here are the events B and B complement written in set notation. So far we've defined our sample space and our events A and B. Now I want to represent them with a Venn diagram. So I'm going to start with event A. I know that the outcomes contained in event A are H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. Now I want to add event B to this Venn diagram. Now I can see that H2, H4, and H6 are contained in B also. So there's going to be some overlap in these two events. Event B also contains T2, T4, and T6. So there's events A and B. Now I need to add in the rest of the sample space, S, and the events that are, the outcomes that are in that sample space but not in either A or B are T1, T3, and T5. So there's our Venn diagram of the sample space with the events A and B. The union of A and B are the outcomes that are contained in A or B or both. Now if I look at my Venn diagram, here's event A. Here's event B. And all of the shaded area is A union B. Events contained in A or B or both. So I can write this in set notation. I write A union B, and then I'm going to write the set of all those outcomes. And that's my A union B. So let's look at intersection. The intersection of events A and B is the set of outcomes that are contained in both A and B. So looking again at our Venn diagram, I have event A, I have event B, and the intersection is this part here where they overlap. Now I write the intersection. A intersect B as the set contained in both. So H2, H4, and H6. Excuse my dog for a minute there. So now it's a good time to stop the video for a few minutes again and write the following events in set notation. When you're done, you can restart the video and I'll go over the answers. Okay, first let's look at A complement union B. Okay, so here first let's look at the Venn diagram. Sometimes it's helpful. We can look at A complement is this yellow portion. B is here. So the union of A complement B is anything that is shaded in any color. So this gives us the set that includes T1, T2, T3, T5 that are shaded yellow, T2, T4, T6 that are shaded green, and H2, H4, and H6 that are shaded blue. These are the things that are not, that have a tails or an even number on the die or both. Okay, next let's look at A union B complement. So we saw before that A union B, we had A, and we had B, and the union was all of the things that were shaded in any of those colors. which means the complement are the things that are not shaded in any of those colors. So A union B complement is going to be the set that contains these unshaded outcomes up here. T1, T2, T3, and T5. I misread my diagram there. Those are our outcomes in A union B complement. Okay, and then finally, let's look at A complement intersect B complement. So I'm going to start by shading A complement. There's A complement, everything not in A. Now I'm going to shade B complement, which is everything not in B. Okay, now A complement intersect B complement are the things that are in the complement of both. So these are places where those two complements overlapped, which means that again we're looking at these outcomes here. So A complement intersect B complement is equal to the set containing T1, T3, and T5. And just a note that this is the same. A complement, B complement is equal to what we saw before, A union B complement. And that was one of the identities we saw in the other video. Just kind of point it out one more time. So that brings us to the end of our example. Hopefully this leaves you well prepared to do your homework, which is due on Friday at noon. It needs to be submitted on Blackboard, and you can find it in the tab for Module 1. On that homework, you'll be defining an outcome space with SetNotation, defining events with SetNotation, including complements, unions, and intersections. If you have any trouble or questions at all, I have an office hour face-to-face on Wednesday from 8:45 to 10:15 in the morning in my office, which is 105 Mansfield House. I also have an online office hour scheduled for Thursday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. That you can access by going to the Office Hours tab in Blackboard. There'll be something there to access the online office hour through big blue button. If there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to getting your homework on Friday. Thanks. Have a good day.